In a quiet corner of the galaxy, humanity had reached a turning point. For years, Earth scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of space travel. They dreamed of exploring distant stars and meeting alien civilizations. Finally, their efforts paid off. A strange signal arrived one evening, beaming directly into Earth's most advanced observatories. The message was simple but clear: an invitation from the Galactic Council. The Council was a group of powerful alien civilizations that governed much of the known galaxy. They held meetings every year on Zoreth 7, a planet famous for its shimmering crystal towers and diplomatic importance. This time, they wanted humans to attend. It was an honor no one expected, but also a challenge. Humanity had only recently begun exploring the stars, and now they were being asked to sit among ancient races with thousands of years of history. Daniel Carter, a skilled diplomat, was chosen to lead the human delegation. He was calm under pressure and known for his ability to read people, or in this case, aliens. Joining him was Dr. Laura Bennett, a brilliant scientist whose research had helped humanity develop faster-than-light travel. Her knowledge would be crucial if they needed to explain Earth's technology to the Council. Together, they prepared for the journey aboard the starship Pioneer Dawn, Earth's newest and most advanced vessel. As the ship left Earth's orbit, Daniel stood by a large window, gazing at the blue planet below. "Do you think we're ready for this?" he asked Laura, who was nearby reviewing data on her tablet. Laura looked up and smiled. "We've come this far. I think we can handle whatever they throw at us." The trip to Zoreth 7 took several days, giving the crew plenty of time to prepare. The Council had sent detailed instructions about proper behavior and protocols. Humans were warned not to speak unless spoken to, and to avoid making any sudden movements. These guidelines made Daniel uneasy. Were the aliens truly so different, or did they simply see humans as inexperienced newcomers? When the Pioneer Dawn finally arrived at Zoreth 7, the scene outside the windows took everyone's breath away. The planet sparkled like a jewel under the light of 3 suns. Towering structures made of translucent material reflected the sunlight in dazzling colors. Alien ships of all shapes and sizes hovered above the surface, some sleek and metallic, others organic and pulsating with life. A small shuttle carried Daniel, Laura, and their team down to the surface. As they stepped out, they were greeted by a group of aliens unlike anything they had ever seen. Some looked almost human, with slight differences in skin tone or eye shape. Others were completely alien, with glowing symbols floating above their heads or bodies made of shifting energy. One figure stood out, a tall, reptilian creature with scales that shimmered like emeralds. This was Ambassador Kelvor, a representative of the dominant race within the Council. Kelvor studied the humans with cold, calculating eyes. "You are late," he said in a deep, raspy voice. "We apologize," Daniel replied quickly. Traveling such a great distance required careful preparation. The ambassador gave a curt nod, but didn't seem convinced. He gestured for them to follow him into the main hall. Inside, hundreds of delegates from across the galaxy filled the room. Conversations buzzed around them, though none of it was in English. Instead, tiny devices attached to their ears translated the alien languages into words they could understand. As Daniel and Laura moved through the crowd, they noticed the stares. Some aliens looked curious, while others seemed dismissive. Whispers echoed around them, comments about how young humanity was, how primitive their technology must be. Laura clenched her fists but kept smiling. She knew they couldn't let these opinions shake their confidence. Daniel leaned close to her. "Remember why we're here," he whispered. "We're not just representing ourselves. We're representing everyone back home." Laura nodded. "Let's show them what we're made of." With determination in their hearts, the two prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They didn't know it yet, but this meeting would change not only their lives, but the entire galaxy. The halls of the Council building on Zoreth 7 were vast and intimidating. As Daniel Carter and Dr. Laura Bennett walked alongside Ambassador Kelvor, They couldn't help but feel out of place. The towering crystalline walls shimmered with faint lights that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Strange symbols floated in the air around them, glowing softly before vanishing into thin air. Everywhere they looked, aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about, their conversations filling the space with a hum of unfamiliar sounds. Calvor led the humans to a large chamber where other delegates had already gathered. The room was circular, with rows of seats spiraling upward like a shell. At the center stood a raised platform, clearly meant for important speakers. Most of the aliens ignored the newcomers, but a few glanced their way with expressions ranging from curiosity to disdain. Daniel noticed one group whispering among themselves, their eyes fixed on him and Laura. He straightened his posture, trying to appear confident even though he felt anything but. Laura tugged at Daniel's sleeve and pointed toward a display screen hovering nearby. It showed images of Earth, its blue oceans, green continents, and sprawling cities, but also scenes of war, pollution, and destruction. "They're already judging us," she murmured under her breath. "They don't know the whole story," Daniel replied quietly. "We'll have our chance to speak." As they took their seats, an announcement echoed through the chamber. A tall, insect-like creature stepped onto the central platform. Its elongated limbs clicked together as it spoke in a language that sounded like chimes ringing in the wind. Thanks to the translation devices in their ears, Daniel and Laura understood every word. "Welcome, representatives of the galaxy," the creature said. "Today marks the beginning of our annual summit. We gather to discuss matters of peace, trade, and cooperation among the stars. And this year, we welcome a new voice, humanity." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. Some aliens clapped politely, while others remained silent or exchanged skeptical glances. Daniel leaned over to Laura. "This is it. Time to show them what we're capable of." After the opening remarks, smaller groups broke off for informal discussions. Daniel and Laura wandered through the chamber, trying to engage with other delegates. They approached a pair of humanoid aliens with pale skin and luminous eyes. One of them introduced himself as Phelan, a trader from a distant star system. "We've heard much about your species," Phelan said, his tone polite but cautious. "Your progress is impressive, given your age." "Thank you," Laura replied, smiling warmly. "We've learned so much in such a short time, but there's still so much more to discover." Phelan nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps we can share knowledge. Trade has always been the foundation of alliances." Before they could continue, another delegate interrupted, a hulking figure covered in thick fur with piercing yellow eyes. His name was Brack, and he represented a warrior race known for its strength and aggression. "You think you belong here?" Brack growled, his voice low and menacing. "You are children playing at politics." Daniel stepped forward, meeting Brack's gaze without flinching. "We may be newcomers, but we've earned our place. Humanity has faced challenges and overcome them. That's something worth respecting." Brack let out a rumbling laugh. "Words mean nothing without action. Prove yourselves, and maybe we will listen." The encounter left Daniel and Laura shaken but determined. As they moved away, Laura whispered, "He's right, in a way. We need to show them tangible results if we want to win their trust." Later, during a break in the sessions, Laura spotted a quiet corner where holographic displays showcased technological advancements from various civilizations. She stopped in front of one exhibit featuring a device that generated clean energy using quantum principles. It reminded her of her own work back on Earth. Inspired, she began sketching ideas in her notebook, imagining ways to combine human ingenuity with alien technology. Daniel joined her a few minutes later. "What are you working on?" "I'm thinking about how we can contribute," Laura said. "If we present something truly groundbreaking, it might change their perspective." Daniel smiled. "Then let's make sure we're ready when the moment comes." As the day drew to a close, the humans returned to their quarters, exhausted but hopeful. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they also knew they had something valuable to offer. not just to the Council, but to the entire galaxy. For now, all they could do was prepare and wait for the next opportunity to prove themselves. The next morning, Daniel and Laura returned to the Council chamber, their minds buzzing with plans. They had spent hours preparing arguments and gathering data to showcase humanity's strengths. But as they entered the room, they noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The usual hum of conversation was replaced by tense whispers, and several delegates shot furtive glances toward the human delegation. Before they could ask what was happening, Ambassador Calvor approached them. His emerald scales shimmered under the light, but his expression was cold and unyielding. "There are accusations against your species," he said bluntly. "Some believe you have conducted unauthorized experiments involving dark matter." Daniel frowned. "That's impossible. Humanity doesn't even fully understand dark matter yet, let alone experiment with it." Calvor tilted his head slightly, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "Then how do you explain the energy spikes detected near your solar system? Such activity is forbidden without Council approval." Laura stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Those readings must be a misunderstanding. We've been focusing on sustainable technologies, not dangerous experiments. If you'd like, we can provide detailed reports of our recent projects." Calvor didn't respond immediately. Instead, he turned and walked away, leaving Daniel and Laura standing there, confused and uneasy. It was clear that someone, or something, was trying to undermine their position. Later that day, Laura decided to investigate further. She accessed the public archives available to all delegates, searching for any mention of the supposed dark matter experiments. As she sifted through the data, she stumbled upon something odd: a series of encrypted files labeled restricted. Though she couldn't open them completely, fragments of information hinted at a coordinated effort to discredit Earth. "Daniel," she called out, waving him over. "Look at this. Someone's spreading false information about us. These files suggest it's coming from within the Council itself." Daniel's jaw tightened. This isn't just about misunderstandings. Someone wants us gone before we even get started. Determined to uncover the truth, Laura reached out to Lirina, a soft-spoken member of the aquatic Valeri species, whom she had met briefly during the previous day's sessions. Lyra listened intently as Laura explained the situation, her large, reflective eyes filled with concern. "I'm not surprised," Lyra admitted. "There are factions within the Council who fear new species. They worry that your rapid progress threatens their dominance." "Do you think you could help us?" Daniel asked cautiously. Lyra hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I'll do what I can. My people have faced similar prejudice. Perhaps together, we can rally support from other smaller races who feel marginalized." With Lyra's assistance, Daniel and Laura began reaching out to delegates from less influential civilizations. They shared their findings about the misinformation campaign and emphasized the importance of fairness and transparency. Slowly but surely, they started gaining allies. Meanwhile, Laura worked tirelessly on a presentation designed to counter the accusations. Using data collected from Earth's research stations, she demonstrated that the so-called energy spikes were actually natural phenomena caused by interactions between Earth's magnetic field and solar winds. Her evidence was thorough and convincing, leaving little room for doubt. On the third day of the summit, the Council reconvened for a special session addressing the allegations. Calvor stood at the center of the platform, his tone accusatory as he reiterated the claims against humanity. When he finished, the chamber fell silent, waiting for a response. Daniel rose from his seat, his heart pounding. He glanced at Laura, who gave him an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, he stepped onto the platform. "Honorable members of the Council," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We came here seeking cooperation and understanding. Instead, we find ourselves facing baseless accusations. But rather than dwell on these falsehoods, let me show you the truth." As Laura activated the holographic display behind him, Daniel launched into a detailed explanation of Earth's peaceful intentions and technological achievements. The room watched in silence, captivated by the clarity of his words and the strength of their evidence. When he finished, a murmur of approval rippled through the chamber. For the first time since their arrival, Daniel and Laura felt a glimmer of hope. The tide was beginning to turn, but the battle was far from over. The mood in the council chamber shifted after Daniel's speech. While some delegates still seemed skeptical, others began to whisper among themselves, their tones softer and more curious. Laura noticed a few aliens nodding approvingly as they reviewed the data she had presented. It was a small victory, but it gave her hope. For the first time, humanity wasn't just being dismissed outright. Lirene approached them after the session ended. Her shimmering, translucent form moved gracefully through the crowd, drawing little attention from the other delegates. "You did well," she said quietly, "but don't celebrate too soon. Calvor won't let this go easily." Daniel nodded, his expression serious. "We know. He's not the only one who doubts us, but we've started to gain some allies, thanks to you." Lyra tilted her head slightly, her reflective eyes glinting under the light. "I've spoken with a few smaller delegations, species who have faced similar treatment from the Council. They're willing to support you if you can show them that humanity is different, that you truly value cooperation over dominance." Laura's mind raced. "How do we do that? We've already shown our research and explained our peaceful intentions." Lyra paused, considering her words carefully. Actions speak louder than words. Share something meaningful, something that benefits everyone here. Show them what humanity can contribute to the galaxy. That night, back in their quarters, Daniel and Laura brainstormed ideas. Laura flipped through her notes, searching for inspiration. Then it hit her. "What about the quantum energy stabilizer?" she suggested excitedly. "It's still in its early stages, but the concept could revolutionize sustainable energy production. If we share the design with the Council, it might prove we're serious about collaboration." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? That's cutting-edge technology. Sharing it could put us at a disadvantage." "Not if we frame it as a gift, a gesture of goodwill," Laura replied. "Besides, we're not giving them everything, just enough to show we're willing to work together." The next morning, they prepared their proposal. Laura spent hours refining the presentation, ensuring every detail was clear and compelling. When they arrived at the council chamber, they requested a brief audience to present their idea. The request was granted, though Calvor looked annoyed by the interruption. Standing before the assembled delegates, Laura took the lead this time. Her voice was calm but confident as she began. "We understand the concerns many of you have about humanity's place in the galaxy. To address those concerns, we'd like to offer something valuable, not just to Earth, but to all of you." She activated the holographic display, which showed a sleek device surrounded by swirling patterns of light. "This is a prototype for a quantum energy stabilizer. It harnesses energy from stars and converts it into a clean, renewable power source. With further development, it could provide limitless energy for any civilization willing to use it." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward, intrigued by the possibilities. Others exchanged wary glances, unsure whether to trust the human's intentions. Calvor stepped forward, his tone sharp. "And why should we believe this isn't another attempt to gain favor?" Laura met his gaze without flinching. "Because we're offering it freely, without conditions. We want to prove that humanity values partnership over competition. If you choose to accept it, the design is yours to study and improve upon." The room fell silent as the delegates absorbed her words. Finally, Valen, the traitor they had met earlier, spoke up. "This is impressive. Such technology could benefit my people greatly. I'm inclined to support Earth's inclusion in the Council." Other voices joined in, some cautiously optimistic, others openly enthusiastic. Even Brack, the warrior alien, grunted in approval. "If this works, it proves your worth. For now, I'll withhold judgment." As the session concluded, Daniel and Laura exchanged a glance, relief washing over them. They hadn't won everyone over yet, but they had taken a crucial step forward. Liranai appeared beside them, her expression gentle. "You've done well," she said. "But remember, there will be more challenges ahead." "We're ready," Daniel replied firmly. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." For the first time since arriving on Zorath 7, they felt a sense of unity, not just between themselves, but with the growing number of allies who believed in humanity's potential. The road ahead was uncertain, but they were determined to keep moving forward. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Daniel and Laura worked tirelessly to build on the momentum they had gained. Their presentation of the quantum energy stabilizer had sparked genuine interest among several delegations, and now those same groups were eager to learn more. Meetings were scheduled with representatives from various species, each one curious about humanity's approach to science and diplomacy. Liranai proved invaluable during these discussions. Her calm demeanor and deep understanding of council politics helped smooth over moments of tension. She often translated not just words but also cultural nuances, ensuring that Daniel and Laura avoided unintentional offenses. With her guidance, they began to form stronger bonds with smaller, marginalized races who saw potential allies in humanity. Despite these successes, Calvor remained a constant obstacle. He continued to question Earth's motives at every turn, his sharp tongue cutting through any progress the humans tried to make. During one heated exchange, he accused them of hiding ulterior motives behind their gift of technology. "You claim this is an act of goodwill," he sneered, "but how do we know it isn't a ploy to gain influence?" Daniel clenched his fists under the table, but kept his voice steady. "If we wanted power, we wouldn't be offering something so valuable for free. This is about trust, something you seem unwilling to give." Calvor's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, another delegate interjected. It was Valen, the traitor. "Enough," he said firmly. "Your accusations are baseless. Humanity has shown us innovation and generosity. Perhaps it's time you set aside your doubts." The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to Valen. His words carried weight, especially among the neutral factions. For the first time, Calvor seemed unsettled, though he quickly masked it with a dismissive gesture. Still, the moment marked a subtle shift in the balance of power within the council. As the summit neared its final day, preparations began for the main assembly, a formal gathering where key decisions would be made. The atmosphere grew tense, with delegates debating fiercely behind closed doors. Daniel and Laura spent long hours strategizing with Liranai and their newfound allies, refining their arguments and anticipating counterattacks from Calvor's faction. On the morning of the assembly, the chamber buzzed with anticipation. Delegates filled the seats, their expressions ranging from hopeful to hostile. When Ambassador Calvor took the stage, his presence commanded attention. His deep, raspy voice echoed through the room as he launched into a scathing critique of humanity. "Earth is young, reckless, and untested," he declared. "Their history is marred by conflict and destruction. How can we trust such a species to contribute meaningfully to our council? They lack the wisdom and experience required to navigate the complexities of galactic affairs." His words struck a nerve. Murmurs of agreement rippled through parts of the audience, and Daniel felt his stomach tighten. But then, unexpectedly, Liranai rose from her seat. Her soft voice carried an authority that silenced the room. "Wisdom is not measured solely by age," she said. "Humanity may be young, but they have shown remarkable resilience and creativity. In mere centuries, they have achieved what some civilizations take millennia to accomplish. To dismiss them outright is to ignore their potential, and ours as a council, to grow stronger together." Her speech went on, highlighting specific examples of humanity's achievements and emphasizing the importance of inclusion. By the time she finished, many delegates were nodding in agreement. Even some who had initially opposed Earth seemed to reconsider their stance. Encouraged by Lyra's support, Daniel stepped forward next. He spoke passionately about Earth's journey, the struggles, the mistakes, and the lessons learned along the way. "We aren't perfect," he admitted. "But no civilization is. What sets us apart is our willingness to adapt, to listen, and to work together. That's why we're here, not to dominate, but to collaborate." When he concluded, the chamber erupted into applause. Not everyone cheered, but the tide had clearly shifted. Kelvor glared at Daniel, his frustration evident, but there was little he could do to reverse the momentum. As the assembly moved toward a vote on Earth's membership, Daniel and Laura exchanged a glance. They had done everything they could. Now, the decision rested in the hands of the Council, and the galaxy held its breath. The vote was about to begin, and the tension in the chamber was thick enough to cut with a knife. Daniel and Laura stood side by side near the platform, their hearts pounding as they watched the delegates prepare for the final decision. The council members activated their voting devices, small, glowing panels embedded in their seats. Each device would cast a vote either in favor of Earth's membership or against it. Before the process started, Kelvor made one last attempt to sway the room. His voice was cold and sharp as he addressed the assembly. "Let us not forget what is at stake here," he said. "Granting humanity full membership could destabilize the balance we have worked so hard to maintain. They are unpredictable, untested, and far too eager to meddle in matters beyond their understanding." His words hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. Some delegates exchanged uneasy glances, clearly wavering under the pressure. But then Laura stepped forward, her expression calm but resolute. She had been preparing for this moment, knowing it might come down to one final push. "Unpredictable," she said, her voice steady and clear. "Yes, we are. Humanity has always thrived on curiosity and innovation. That's what drives us to explore, to learn, and to improve. And yes, we've made mistakes, but we've also learned from them. We're here today because we want to grow, not just for ourselves, but for all of you, to share, to cooperate, and to build something greater together." Her words resonated deeply, especially among the smaller delegations who had long felt overshadowed by the more powerful races. Many nodded in agreement, their earlier doubts fading. Even Valen, the traitor, gave her an approving smile. With nothing left to say, the council moved to the vote. One by one, the results appeared on a large holographic screen above the platform. Green lights for approval, red for rejection. At first, the tally seemed evenly split, with green and red dots appearing in rapid succession. Daniel clenched his fists, his eyes glued to the screen as each new light flickered into existence. Then came a turning point. A cluster of smaller delegations cast their votes in favor of Earth, tipping the balance slightly toward green. Lyranaz people, the aquatic Velari, added their support, followed by several others who had been swayed by Laura's speech. The momentum shifted, and soon the greens outnumbered the reds. When the final tally was displayed, the chamber erupted into cheers. Earth had won, a narrow majority, but a victory nonetheless. The humans were officially granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Daniel exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, while Laura covered her mouth with her hand, tears welling up in her eyes. Kelvor looked furious, his emerald scales darkening slightly as he glared at the humans. But there was nothing he could do now. The decision was final. As the celebration began, Lyranaz approached Daniel and Laura, her shimmering form glowing softly. "You've done it," she said warmly. "This is a historic moment, not just for Earth, but for all of us. You've shown that even the smallest voices can make a difference." Daniel smiled, though his mind was already racing ahead. "This is just the beginning," he said. "We have so much work to do if we're going to live up to this responsibility." Laura nodded, wiping away her tears. "And we'll need allies like you to help guide us. Together, we can make real change happen." But before they could celebrate further, chaos erupted. Alarms blared throughout the chamber, and the lights dimmed briefly before flashing red. Delegates scrambled to their feet, looking around in confusion. A loud crash echoed from the entrance hall. followed by shouts and panicked movements. "What's happening?" Daniel asked, his voice tense. Lyrane's expression turned grim. "Sabotage," she said. "Someone doesn't want this summit to succeed." Without hesitation, Daniel and Laura sprang into action, working alongside Lyrana to restore order. As they navigated the chaos, they discovered evidence pointing to rogue factions within the Council, groups allied with Calvor's faction. Their goal had been to disrupt the proceedings and discredit humanity once and for all. It took hours to resolve the situation, but when the dust settled, the truth was undeniable. Humanity's courage and quick thinking during the crisis earned them even more respect from the other delegates. For the first time, Earth wasn't seen as a liability. It was recognized as a valuable partner. As the summit drew to a close, Daniel and Laura stood together, gazing out at the shimmering towers of Zorath 7. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they also knew they weren't alone. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The aftermath of the sabotage left the council chamber in disarray, but it also revealed hidden truths. Daniel and Laura worked alongside Lyranai and other delegates to piece together what had happened. Security logs showed that rogue operatives, linked to Calvor's faction, had planted explosives near the main assembly hall. Their goal was clear: to create chaos and discredit humanity by framing them for the attack. Laura examined the evidence carefully, her sharp mind piecing together the fragments. "They wanted us to look guilty," she said, pointing to a damaged device found near the blast site. "This equipment isn't human-made. It matches the technology used by Calvor's people." Daniel nodded grimly. "We need to expose this before they try to spin it against us." With Lyranaz's help, they presented their findings during an emergency session called to address the incident. The chamber was tense, with many delegates still shaken from the earlier explosion. When Daniel stepped forward to speak, his voice carried both urgency and calm. "What happened here wasn't just an attack on humanity. It was an attack on all of us," he said, gesturing toward the damaged walls and scattered debris. "These saboteurs wanted to destroy trust, to divide us further, but we won't let them succeed." He activated the holographic display behind him, showing images of the damaged equipment and security footage capturing shadowy figures planting the explosives. "This is proof that Calvor's faction was behind the attack. They tried to blame us, but their plan failed." The room erupted into murmurs as delegates turned to look at Calvor, who stood rigidly in his seat, his emerald scales flickering faintly, a sign of agitation. For once, the usually unshakable ambassador seemed cornered. Though he attempted to deny the accusations, his arguments were weak, and his allies began to distance themselves. Lyranai addressed the council next, her tone measured but firm. "This act of sabotage proves why unity is so important. If we allow fear and division to rule us, we will only weaken ourselves. Humanity has shown courage and integrity throughout this crisis. Instead of turning against them, we should stand with them." Her words struck a chord, especially among smaller delegations who had already begun to see Earth as a potential ally. Even some neutral factions shifted their stance, openly condemning the sabotage and supporting humanity's inclusion in the Council. When the emergency session ended, the mood had changed completely. Calvor's influence waned significantly, while Daniel and Laura emerged as symbols of resilience and cooperation. Delegates approached them afterward, expressing gratitude for their efforts to uncover the truth. Some even apologized for doubting humanity earlier. That evening, as the humans prepared to leave Zorath 7, Lyranai joined them one last time. Her shimmering form glowed softly under the fading light of the three suns. "You've earned more than just membership today," she said. "You've gained respect and friends. Remember, you're not alone in this galaxy." Daniel smiled, extending his hand in gratitude. "Thank you, Lyra. We couldn't have done this without your help." Laura added, "And we'll never forget the lessons we've learned here." about trust, about working together, and about standing up for what's right. As they boarded the shuttle back to the Pioneer Dawn, Daniel and Laura reflected on everything that had happened. The journey had been far more challenging than they ever imagined, but it had also been rewarding in ways they hadn't expected. They had faced hostility, suspicion, and danger, but they had also forged alliances, proven their worth, and inspired hope. Back aboard the starship, the crew gathered to celebrate their historic achievement. Cheers filled the air as news of Earth's acceptance spread across the galaxy. Messages of congratulations poured in from leaders and citizens back home, united in pride and excitement for the future. But amid the celebration, Daniel and Laura remained focused. They knew this was only the beginning. Humanity now had a voice on the galactic stage, but with that voice came responsibility. There would be challenges ahead, new enemies, difficult decisions, and countless opportunities to shake the course of history. As the Pioneer Dawn soared through the stars, heading back toward Earth, Daniel looked out at the endless expanse of space. "We've made it this far," he said quietly. "Now we have to keep going." Laura nodded, her eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "Together, that's how we'll build a better future for Earth and for everyone else out there." For the first time, humanity truly belonged to something greater than itself. The galaxy had changed, and so had the humans who called it home. The return to Earth was met with an outpouring of joy and celebration. News of humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Council spread like wildfire, lighting up cities and towns across the globe. People gathered in streets and squares, waving flags and cheering as images of Daniel Carter and Dr. Laura Bennett appeared on screens everywhere. For the first time in history, humanity felt united, not just as nations, but as a single species stepping boldly into the stars. Daniel and Laura stood side by side on a stage in New York City, addressing a massive crowd that stretched as far as the eye could see. Behind them, holographic displays showed highlights from their journey. The shimmering towers of Zorath 7, the tense moments in the council chamber, and the final vote that changed everything. The cheers were deafening, but both Daniel and Laura knew this moment was about more than just pride. It was about responsibility. "This is not the end," Daniel said into the microphone, his voice calm but powerful. "It's the beginning of something bigger. We've been given a chance to show the galaxy what we're capable of, to prove that humanity can be a force for good." Laura stepped forward, her tone warm but serious. "We didn't do this alone. Every scientist, engineer, and dreamer back home made this possible. And now it's up to all of us to keep moving forward, to learn, to grow, and to work together." Their words resonated deeply, sparking conversations around the world. Schools held special lessons about space exploration, businesses invested in sustainable technologies, and governments pledged to cooperate more closely than ever before. Humanity wasn't just dreaming of the stars anymore. They were reaching for them. Back aboard the Pioneer Dawn, the crew prepared for new missions. Earth's membership in the Galactic Council came with privileges and obligations. Trade agreements were established, allowing Earth to exchange resources and knowledge with other civilizations. Scientific partnerships flourished as researchers collaborated on projects ranging from clean energy solutions to medical advancements. Humanity's presence in the galaxy grew stronger with each passing day. But challenges remained. Not everyone in the Council welcomed Earth's rise, and whispers of dissent continued to surface. Kel Vor's faction, though weakened, still harbored resentment toward humanity. They watched closely, waiting for any misstep that could justify reversing Earth's membership. Daniel and Laura knew they couldn't afford complacency. They had to stay vigilant, proving over and over again that humanity deserved its place. Months later, during a follow-up summit on Zorath 7, Earth unveiled its first major contribution to the Council, a fully functional prototype of the quantum energy stabilizer. The device, refined with input from alien scientists, generated clean, renewable energy at unprecedented levels. When Laura demonstrated its capabilities, the chamber erupted into applause. Even some former skeptics admitted they were impressed. Lirene approached Daniel and Laura after the presentation, her shimmering form glowing softly. "You've done more than earn respect," she said. "You've inspired others, smaller races who once thought their voices didn't matter. You've shown them that change is possible." Daniel smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "We couldn't have done it without allies like you. This isn't just our victory, it's everyone's." As the years passed, humanity's role in the galaxy continued to evolve. Earth became known not just for its technological achievements, but for its spirit of cooperation and innovation. New ambassadors joined Daniel and Laura in representing their species, carrying the torch of diplomacy to distant stars. One evening, as Daniel gazed at the night sky from his home in Colorado, he reflected on how far they had come. The road ahead would always be uncertain, filled with unknown dangers and endless possibilities. But one thing was clear: humanity's rise had already reshaped the galaxy, and it was only the beginning. Beside him, Laura looked up at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think we'll ever stop being surprised by what's out there?" she asked. Daniel chuckled softly. "I hope not. That's what makes it worth exploring." Together, they stood in silence, marveling at the infinite expanse above them. Humanity's journey into the cosmos had just begun, and the future promised to be brighter and more extraordinary than anyone could have imagined. Years passed, and humanity's role in the galaxy continued to grow. Earth had transformed from a newcomer into an active and respected member of the Galactic Council. The lessons learned during those early days on Zorath 7 shaped how humans interacted with alien civilizations. Cooperation replaced suspicion, and progress became a shared goal rather than a competition. Daniel Carter and Laura Bennett remained at the forefront of these efforts, though their roles evolved over time. Daniel transitioned from being a diplomat to leading Earth's first interstellar embassy, a sprawling complex that served as a hub for cultural exchange and collaboration. Laura, meanwhile, dedicated herself to advancing science through partnerships with alien researchers. Her work on quantum energy stabilizers paved the way for breakthroughs that benefited countless worlds. One day, as Daniel reviewed reports from recent trade missions, he received an unexpected message. It was from Lirena, who now held a prominent position within her own species delegation. "The Council wishes to honor Earth," she said when they met via hologram. "Your contributions have inspired others, and there is talk of making you a permanent member of the Leadership Assembly." Daniel felt a mix of pride and humility. It's not just us, it's everyone back home. Humanity wouldn't be here without the hard work of billions. Lyra smiled softly. "Perhaps, but your actions set the example. The Council needs voices like yours, ones that value unity over division." Meanwhile, Laura found herself working closely with a group of alien scientists on a project unlike anything attempted before. They called it the Galactic Nexus, a network designed to connect distant star systems using advanced wormhole technology. If successful, it would allow instant communication and travel across vast distances, bringing the galaxy closer together. But the project wasn't without risks. Some factions opposed the Nexus, fearing it could fall into the wrong hands or disrupt the balance of power. Laura often found herself defending the initiative, arguing that its benefits outweighed any potential dangers. "This isn't about control," she told skeptics during one heated debate. "It's about connection, about breaking down barriers so we can understand each other better." Back on Earth, life had changed dramatically. Cities adapted to accommodate visitors from other planets, with floating markets and multilingual signs becoming commonplace. Schools taught children about alien cultures alongside human history, fostering a generation that saw itself as part of something greater. Even art and music reflected this shift, blending styles from across the galaxy into vibrant new forms. Despite these advances, challenges persisted. Rogue groups still operated in the shadows, seeking to exploit tensions between species for their own gain. Kelvor, though retired from public life, remained a symbol of resistance against Earth's growing influence. His followers occasionally stirred up trouble, but their numbers dwindled as more civilizations embraced cooperation. One evening, Daniel and Laura stood together on a balcony overlooking Earth's capital city. Lights twinkled below, while stars shimmered above. A gentle breeze carried the sounds of laughter and conversation from nearby streets. "Do you ever wonder what's next?" Laura asked, breaking the silence. "All the time," Daniel replied. "The galaxy's full of surprises, but no matter what happens, I know we'll face it together." Laura nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "We've come so far, and yet it feels like we're just getting started." In the years to come, humanity would continue to explore, learn, and grow. New discoveries awaited them, some wondrous, others daunting, but they faced the unknown with courage and determination. The journey was far from over, but one thing was certain: humanity's rise had already left an indelible mark on the galaxy. As the two friends watched the night sky, a shooting star streaked across the heavens, leaving a trail of light in its wake. It was a reminder of how small they were compared to the vastness of space, and how much they had achieved despite it. Together, they turned back toward the bustling city, ready to embrace whatever the future held.